Do you think it's true that Americans work less hours now than in any period in the history of America? Because in this article, they're going to argue that we do. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to let you know what I think, and then I'm very interested to hear your opinions. So let's look at it together. So we're going to start off in 1776, in which a typical American work week is 6 to 7 days at 12 hours per day for more than 80 hours total per work week. Work days were longer in the summer, shorter in the winter because of daylight. Then we're going to go to 1810. This is the Industrial Revolution. This is the manufacturing age in which we now had gas lighting in warehouses. So typical workers were up to 12 hours per day in 68-hour work weeks. Then we're going to go to the 1840s when the labor unions emerged. Several states tried to put limits in for employers of 10 hours per day, but these laws were either not observed or completely ignored by most employers. In the 1850s, the labor movement started. This is emerging labor pushing for shorter hours as a way to boost wages. Now, these shorter hours that everyone was working created more demand for labor, which pushed wages even further up. Then we're going to move to the 1860s. This is the manufacturing work week decline. After the Civil War, the Grand 8-Hour Leagues formed to try to promote the 8-hour workday. Most of these 8-hour laws were ignored by employers, but consumption did increase as people started working less. In the 1870s, we had the 10-hour laws. Massachusetts is the first state to pass an actually enforceable labor law in which 10 hours per day applies to female workers. The average work week still exceeds 60 hours per week at this point. In 1880, we had labor strikes. In 1920, the 5-day work week is introduced. Due to World War I, labor shortages make it possible for workers to bargain aggressively for shorter hours. Work weeks slow down to 50 hours at that point, and Ford Motor Company adopts the 5-day work week, which is very wise for the automotive industry because now consumers can drive their car more. Then we'll go to the 1930s, the Great Depression. Reducing the work week becomes a government priority. Work weeks go to 5 days per week for 30 hours. Then comes President Roosevelt, who argues that 30-hour work week is not sustainable and adopts an economic recovery approach. In the 1940s, the 40-hour work week. Congress passes the Fair Labor Standards Act to limit the work week to 40 hours. World War II effectively brings the Depression to a close. In the 1950s, the work week decline halts because of continued low unemployment. Employers would rather pay overtime to existing employees than hire new employees. Then we'll go to 1960s to present day. Use of contract labor, the explosion of technology, and the gig economy makes unemployment figures difficult to track. And we can get into a long discussion about how difficult it actually is to come to an unemployment number, but that's a completely different video. So, are we really working less, everyone? Or are we working our main job, our second job, our side hustle, our gig economy job like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, in addition to people trying to start their own businesses? Is it really less now that both adults in the household are going to have to work full time? So I don't really think that Americans are working much less than we have before in history. Now, I don't think it's to the level of the agricultural period in the 1700s when everybody was 70 to 80 hours. However, I think that most Americans work 40 to 55 hours a week in general, and both adults in the household have to do that, honestly, to make it work in this economy. So, I don't think that in a lot of ways that this is correct, but I'm interested to see what you guys think. Right now, the economy is in a place where inflation is really high. Everybody is working as much as they can just to be able to survive. And I really don't think that we're working less as Americans. But before you answer below, I have an interesting caveat. And that is that if you're going to put a comment below this video, I'll ask you to put your generation in the comment as well. So if you say, I'm Gen X and that's the reason I feel this way. I'm of the boomer generation, I feel this way. I'm a millennial and that's why I feel this way. I'm interested to see from the different generations that have been alive for different lengths of time, how that might affect their answers. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think that we're working more than we ever have before. Let me know that if you think due to technology and AI, we're working less now or we will be in the future. I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say, and I'll see you in the next one.